What's going on, guys? This is the RPO College Football Podcast, and we are back in action. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones, and we got my man, Ray Roberts here. How you doing today, Ray?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm doing well. Well, I'm doing okay. There's some crazy news right now that's going on with college football that we're going to get into right now. But before we do that, guys, we are currently live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. So make sure you guys sharing, throw in your comments, anything you want to say, anything you want to say anything that we talk about, and you want to let us know, or you have a question or something like that, please put it in the chat room. We are an open chat room podcast, and we love doing this with each and every one of our guys in here. We already got some comments in here. We got, I'm pretty sure this is Mike. So what's up, Mike? He says the OG Ray. So what's going on, Mike? Appreciate you being in here. What's up with the OG Jerome? Like, yo, shout out Jerome. Ray, what's up with me, man? I'm feeling lost right now. No, we do appreciate
you. You're not an old guy, man. What are you gonna
do? You're right. You the star of the show, man. You the star of the show. What can I say?
I'm not the star of the show, but I'm here.
But hey, man, we do appreciate each person being in here, and we do love each one of your comments and everything you guys say in here. So keep the comments going, share this, like it. We do appreciate it. It helps out the channel. It helps out everything we do with our Inside the Hashes. If you guys haven't already seen, yesterday also we had a new podcast. It was called The Fantasy Aces. The first episode, the guys are real great what they're doing. So make sure you check that out every Tuesday as well. Fun stuff with a lot of fantasy advice and things like that. Inside the Hashes are about to have our fantasy league coming up very soon as well. So make sure you check all that out. Inside the Hashes have a lot going on. So make sure you check us out. Mike says Jerome will be my OJ Hall of Fame run. I'm not a wide receiver, Mike. Stop calling me a wide receiver. But my favorite Madden rival, yes, we had our Madden rival days. I am a cornerback now, converted wide receiver. I was cornerback, play cornerback more than I play wide receiver. But he says, Ray, my twin. You the man. No, we do appreciate the love in here. That was Avery. Appreciate you being in here, Avery. So thank you for putting that in there. So yeah, appreciate everybody being in here. Let's get into a little bit of some news right now, some college football news. So just put out about 2 hours ago. So today is Wednesday, the 29th of July, and just literally 2 hours ago, we just got some news that star cornerback from Virginia Tech is opting out from playing this year. His name is Caleb Fairley. He was projected to be one of the top corners in the NCAA. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later because we are talking about corners today. But he opted out of playing for the 2020 season. Like most people already know, COVID's going out. There's already a lot of pro football players opting out. He's the first college football player to opt out. And total respect to him. He lost his mother about like 2 years ago, and he really wants to look out for his family and make sure like nothing spreads, and make sure nothing goes up to his family. And he don't want to lose. He said it. He posted a video talking about how he don't want to lose any other family member. So respect out to him. Really disheartening not to be able to see him play this year, but total respect out of that. Ray, what do you have to say about that?
Disappointed that he's not going to play, obviously, because we're going to talk about corners a little later. I had him as one of the better corners in the country, but I mean, again, we spoke before we come on air. How can you knock a guy for putting his family first? We tell everybody, every set always says family first. Well, here's a guy that put his family first. So what can you say? But God bless him, man. Mm-hmm. Hopefully it goes well for him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we definitely don't want anybody to get sick like that or harm their family. So for us people that cover football, it's a really hard spot for us because we love the game. We want to see the game, but also for people like me and Ray, and I'm sure most of the people out there that are human first. We very caring people, and we wanted to make sure that the best goes out to those people. So hopefully you know, nothing spreads. We really hope that, you know, everybody stays well and everybody do their part. And we say this almost every episode. Please make sure you go out there and do your part to make sure this don't spread anymore.
I mean, I have a saying when it comes to work, and it's family, faith, career. And I have a saying when it comes to football, and it's family, faith, football. So
Correct.
family, faith, football. Okay? It has to be that way.
Correct.
To put it above them other things, even my job. My job is very important to me, but only because really it helps me supply and, you know, make things better for my family.
Definitely.
I mean, I enjoy working. I enjoy having somewhere to go, but I really only do it because I need to support my family. We would all like to just sit around and talk about football all day and be rich, be great.
Yeah.
But that's not realistic. Realistically, I have to take care of my family first, and this kid is doing that. So, again, hopefully it will probably work out for him because he's a pretty good player. So, we'll see.
Definitely. No, and I agree. I think at the end of the day, man, like, you can't control the things that you can control, and this virus
Correct.
is one thing you can't control, and one thing he can control is taking care of his family, make sure his family's good. So respect to him. Respect anybody, like not just him, but anybody that decides to opt out of anything. So just to protect your family and protect yourselves. So please do so if you can. And like we said, just make sure you're doing the right things. If you are going to go out, make sure you're doing the right things, please. There's a lot of people that are not, and we need that to make the world go. So,
I mean, honestly, not playing this year is not going to hurt him.
Yeah, it's
I mean,
not.
Could he have helped himself? Maybe, possibly, if it comes out and he balls out and he plays well, which he probably would have. Maybe he helps himself move out, but basically he's probably going to be one of the top 4 or 5 corners taken, and that's probably not going to change from now until, you know, when the draft happens, whenever it happens this year now. So Definitely. We'll see.
Definitely. All right, let's get into our regular topic to segue right off of what we were just talking about, cornerbacks. So today we're going to talk about cornerbacks. If you haven't been watching us, the last 10 episodes, we've been talking about every position in the NCAA, ranking them the top players of that position in the NCAA. And today we're talking about corners. So we're at the tail end of our segment. Today is corners. Next week will be safeties, and then we'll be done with the segment. But we're talking about corners today. So, Ray, let's just jump right into it. Who's your top 5 cornerbacks in the NCAA?
Well, I mean, I got Patrick Surtain, number 1 from Alabama. I'm pretty much going with guys that have a lot of work on film. I mean, he's a really good player, but there is somebody who I'm gonna say his name. I think Derek Stingley may be the best corner in college football, but he only has 1 year of very good tape. For right now, I'll keep Patrick Surtain. I've gotten 2.5 years of really good football out of Surtain. Mm-hmm. I'll keep him at number 1. But by the end of the year, I could see Derek Stingley, even though he's not going to come out this year. He can't. Yeah. I think he's a sophomore, so he can't come out this year. Right. But I think by the end of the year, people will probably say Derek Stingley may be the best cornerback in college football. But right now, I have him at number 2. Number 3, I have Sean Wade, another athletic kid from Ohio State, a very good cover corner, good football player. I have him at 3. I have Caleb Fairley at 4. Again, a kid who's a big physical press corner, who was a better, more fluid athlete than most people give him credit for. He can cover. He can do a lot of different things. He's a good football player. Again, I kind of feel funny leaving my top 5. So I'm going to give you Paulson Adebo from Stanford. We talked about him a couple weeks ago when we covered to his conference. I mean, he's a good football player. Another guy who's a good cover corner, probably can do a lot of different things coverage-wise. And you know what? But I'm going to add, I have 2 more, and I'm going to just say this because I have 2 guys, both from South Carolina. I think if you may be the best tandem of corners in college football. And I have Israel Makumo and J.C. Horn. One is a cover guy. Horn is more of a cover guy. Makumo is more of a press guy. But to me, they're the perfect tandem of a field corner and a boundary corner. And what I mean like that, the boundary corner, which you know, Jerome, but I'll explain it to other guys. The boundary corner plays the short side of the field. the field corner is more of a cover guy who plays alongside the field. But to me, they're a very good tandem, and I had them rated as my 6th, 7th, or 8th best corners in college football this year. So I'm going to give you them. I'll give you them 7 guys, but of course, Ferrell's not going to play, so technically I can't include him, but I would have if he was going to play. So
definitely, and yeah, I had him in my personal top 5 as well. I'm not releasing my top 5 yet because it's not complete. But we are going to go to Tom's list. Tom Stones is a good guy. He was on RPO for a few times. Tom, hopefully you can get on real quick. He's been doing a lot of background work for us. But thank you, Tom. But we're going to read off Tom's list. And Tom actually don't have Fairley in his top 5. Spoiler alert.
Well, he must have known he wasn't going to play. Good for him.
Fortune teller. He's a fortune teller.
Exactly.
I got his list. I got his list yesterday. So we're just going to say that he knew. He just knew. He had inside scoop. He has inside scoop. That's what we do inside the hatchery. We have the inside scoop.
There you go.
All right. So number 1, he has Derek Stingley Jr. From LSU. Yeah. Number 2, he has Javon Holland from Oregon. Number 3, he has Elijah Moulton from Washington. Number 4, he has Sean Jolly from Appalachian State. And number 5, he had Patrick Surtain, the second from Alabama. So, Ray, what do you think about that list?
It's a horrible list, man. Really I love Derek Stingley, but again, and I'm not going to argue. I won't even debate that. You could put Derek Stingley anywhere you want. He's really good, and I think his ball skills are what separates him from kind of everybody else in this list. But Patrick Surtain's been one of the best cornerbacks in college football since he stepped on the field. Okay, Molden I like. What is his tie to Oregon? Okay. All right. Okay. I don't like to put defensive backs that don't play defense on my list, So yeah. I like the kid from Oregon. I think he's an athletic kid, but he's not a complete player. He doesn't tackle anybody. But
and Ray, and I say this a lot. Most people already know I'm a former DB. I played cornerback, a little safety, but mostly cornerback. One thing I can't stand that cornerbacks don't do is tackle. It drives me crazy, or at least the willingness to tackle. Like some guys just don't even want to even try.
Well, that's the thing, though. I agree with you. I think that if you can tackle, it just makes you a better player. Patrick Surtain is the best tackler of any of these guys that either one of us just mentioned, without a doubt.
Definitely. We got. I believe this is Mike. Let me double check. Yes, this is Mike. So Mike, he is saying that there's one cornerback that I always draft and use in Madden. I think his name is Ringo. I like him. I think Madden has him projected to be in 2020 and 2023. I'm trying to think who you're talking about. Ringo. From Tennessee?
I don't know that.
Ringo, man. It's gonna drive me crazy. His name sounds so familiar, and I'm trying to, because I believe I reached out to him for an interview, if I'm not mistaken. But
okay,
Ringo, Jack, man, I'm trying to remember. So let's move along, and I'll try to figure that out. But
maybe you'll come to us if we stop thinking about it.
Definitely. So right. So what one person that on his list that maybe you would have took out his top 5 altogether, just out of the top 5?
The kid from Oregon,
Javon.
Not that he can't play. He can. He's a nice, decent, solid cover corner.
Yeah.
But like we talked about,
tackling.
The tackling is not there. Sean Wade is a good tackler. Patrick Surtain is a great tackler. Derek Stingley is not only a good solid tackler. Again, I don't have a problem putting him at number 1 because I thought really hard about it. Like I said, I've seen Surtain do it for a longer time. Derek Stingley's ball skills, man. We talked about this last year with this kid, man. He plays the ball like he's a wide receiver. He's amazing. Yeah. And I don't have a problem with him being number 1. Mm-hmm. I just don't.
The thing about Stingley to me is, And I know you said like we didn't see enough from him. It's only 1 year that he's been in the college football, but
Right.
for me, it's different for him. He's in a different situation because he came out as a 5-star recruit, one of the best. I think he was number one cornerback coming out, one of the top athletes coming out. He came into college football and proved exactly why he had that position coming out of high school. So for me, I'm okay with him being number one.
No, I don't have a problem with that at all.
I can see Patrick Surtain being either one of them. You flip flopping either one of them if you like a guy that's more established and things like that. Yes, Surtain is the guy. But Stingley, the things he done in his first year already, he looked like he'd been playing college football for 4 years.
I agree with you.
They literally stopped throwing into the guy. Like literally stopped throwing into him. So
the difference between him and Surtain is Surtain will come out and force the run.
Yeah.
Stingley's not asked to do that right now. I mean, and honestly, playing against LSU last year, you had to throw a ball a lot. So he got a lot of chance to make plays on balls. And he did. But no one ever asked him to tackle. That's all.
Yeah, and that excuse me. And I think that that also ties into having that freshman body. You know, every year, you know, I don't care how big they are coming out of high school, they usually have like that freshman body where they're still not at that spot they need to be considered like a good, you know, college football sized player. And I think he still needs to work into his body a little bit, which will help him get a little bit more strength and stuff. So
you know what, Jerome, here's the thing. I can't even say that I'm not going to say that he can't tackle. Yeah, I'm saying that LSU, he was never really in a position last year where you had to come up and force the run because no one ran the ball against them because everybody's throwing the ball because you had to. By the first quarter, they were had 21-3. You know, so you know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Surtain is definitely nice. We like him too. Like he's definitely a good cornerback. I just like Stingley, man. I like cornerbacks that can pluck the ball out the air, and the fact that he did it so early in his career, man, it just. And I've been following him for a while. Like I don't follow a lot of high school players coming out of high school. It's just too many to do that. But he was one of the guys that I was like, man, this guy looked crazy, and he kind of exceeded expectation for me. So,
because you remember his grandfather was a player.
Yeah.
Played for the Raiders. Actually, Darryl Stingley was a guy that got crippled.
Yeah.
By Jack Tatum back in when I was young. Crazy. So the bloodlines are there too. So I'm not surprised. Just like I'm not surprised Patrick Surtain, because Patrick Surtain's father was a heck of a player for the Dolphins.
Yep.
So I'm not surprised that they're both good. They're both second, third generation athletes. They're both have been coached very well. And again, I don't have a problem with Stingley. I could see someone saying, well, with his ball skills and his coverage ability, he's the best corner in college football. I don't have a problem with that. But if you like your corners to be a little bit more physical, I've seen Surtain do it. That's all.
Yeah. All right, awesome. Let's get to our next point. This week we're talking about independent schools. Now, if you guys don't already know what independent schools are schools that are not in a conference. And I'm pretty sure Ray's a little bit excited about this because his team is an independent school, Notre Dame. So we're going to talk about those schools today. Like you might have seen in the past, we're going through each conference, and this week was the independent. There's one conference in particular we skipped on purpose to make it last. That's the SEC. We're going to talk about that next week. The last conference that we have to talk about. But today's going to be the independent schools. There's only 6, so we're going to just go and rank all the schools from 1 to 6. And Ray, you can start it off. Notre Dame.
Well, that's not. I mean, it's not really even debatable, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, and honestly, Jerome, this is my least favorite one to do. I mean, I didn't have to do research as much because, again, there's only 6 teams. Mm-hmm. And only, you know, even though I respect Army's not really a good team right now. Mm-hmm. And there's 2 teams in this conference in this independent circuit that's worse than them. So, I mean, I'm just going to give you the top 6. But again, I don't, and you're going to notice that a lot of the 10 players are like 4 of them are Notre Dame guys, but they almost have to be because Yeah, okay. I got Notre Dame number 1. Okay, obviously they were 11-2 last year. They are replacing some talent that they lost due to the draft, but I think they're going to be okay. I think they had a nice recruiting class this year, top 10 recruiting class. I think they'll be fine. I got Liberty number 2 again, pretty much because I like Hugh Freeze, their coach. I like their Malik Mills, Malik Willis, who was a transfer from Auburn, who sat out last year because he wasn't allowed to play. He was now eligible because he transferred. Is a nice dual threat quarterback. I think they'll be pretty good. Again, I like Hugh Freeze. Again, they were 8-5 last year. They were nothing exceptional, but that's what I mean. It really is not. It's not even a conference, and it doesn't look like it. It really looks like just Notre Dame and a bunch of other teams.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to say, but I had BYU 3rd, and I like BYU. I respect their program. Their Kalani to take their coach is a good, fairly young. I think he's in his. I think this is like his 3rd or 4th maybe year now at BYU. I like Zach Wilson, their quarterback. He's a pretty solid, athletic, dual threat type quarterback. He needs to improve, but I think he's a good athlete. I love Matt Bushman, their tight end. Kid's great. He's probably the best player on the team. So I got BYU 3. I'm going to round out real quick. I got Army, New Mexico State, Massachusetts, 4, 5, and 6. Again, Army was 5-8 last year. Not expecting a whole lot from them. They have a new quarterback this year, Tyree Tyler. He's a small kid, but he's a dual threat kid. He's a pretty athletic, solid offensive line. Three of the 5 guys are returning seniors from last year. I just don't see them being much more than a 500 team. And New Mexico was 2-10, and Massachusetts was 1-11. So I mean, there's only one way to go from them records, but not too much farther. So
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ray, man, talk about being biased, man. Jeez. No.
I honestly,
I get it.
This is worse than some people. Well, maybe Penn State or maybe Michigan compete with Ohio State. This is even worse than that because there's nobody there. Yeah. I could see Penn State and Michigan not beating Ohio State, but competing with them, having a similar record, not 11 wins like Ohio State will probably win, or 12, but 9 or 10, where I see Notre Dame probably winning 10 games and Liberty winning 7 or 8, BYU winning 7 or 8, and then everybody else is a 500 or worse team. So, it's tough.
Makes sense. All right. Before we get to Tom's list, Mike said it was Kaylee. I don't know if it's Keely or Kaylee Ringo from Georgia. So yes, I heard about the kid.
Kaylee.
Yeah,
okay.
I seen a little bit of tape of him. I didn't see much, but yeah, he's coming out 2023 draft. I heard some buzz on him. I haven't did my assessments on him yet, but Ray, have you seen anything from him yet?
I think he's a solid cover corner, but I don't see anything that's great about his game yet. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely looked him up.
Little
bit. I haven't seen too much of him.
To have him in my top 5, it means he's either a great cover free safety who can turn and run with guys, or a guy who comes up and just busts you in the mouth and play, like press coverage. I don't care which one you do, but you got to be exceptional at one of them, so.
I agree. All right, let's move on to the players. Now we're going to talk about the top 10 players and the FBS school, independent schools and FBS. Ray, you already talked about you have a whole bunch of Notre Dame guys. It's okay. Don't worry. We already know. Real quick. I'm sorry. I forgot to get to Tom's list.
Yeah,
all right, real quick. Notre Dame, BYU, Army, New Mexico, Liberty, and UMass. So I think that's the same exact list ranking you had.
You're the same. Not exactly. I think we had to say it again.
Notre Dame, Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you had Army before BYU, right?
I
Yeah,
had
Army.
I had BYU then Army. He has
Okay.
Army then BYU, right?
No, he has BYU. He has Army. He has New Mexico State. He has Liberty and UMass.
He has Liberty fourth. That's not going to happen. They were an 8-5. They were 8-5 team last year. Why would they finish so bad this year? Below New Mexico State? Nah. Nope. Nope.
I don't
Okay.
know. All right, let's get into the players now. So, like we were saying, top 10 players. Like we do each week, we do the first five, and then we're gonna go to 6 to 10. Then we're just gonna assess the whole thing right after that. So, Ray, you're up.
Okay, well, number one, I have Liam Eichenberg from Notre Dame, offensive tackle. The highest rated player in this in all the independent players. I mean, really, probably will be like a second round pick coming in this year's draft.
Mhm.
He's a really good football player. Notre Dame has really produced some good offensive linemen in the last 5-10 years, and he's another one. My number two guy is a outside linebacker, Jerome Amushu Kamara. I hate this name. Carmo, I think that's how you say it, from another kid from Notre Dame. A outside linebacker, hybrid, plays a little coverage, comes out and is a good solid tackler. Can do a little bit of everything on the field, but lines up an outside linebacker for Notre Dame. Number three kid is Tommy Kramer, an offensive lineman from Notre Dame. Guy who
I like Kramer,
played a lot of guard, but this year is probably played some tackle last year and is going to play some tackle again this year, I believe. Again, I hate to say that, but I mean, like, these are the three, not only the three best players in this on Notre Dame, they're the best three players of all the independent teams. They're going to be drafted higher than everybody else. The one guy who could challenge them is Matt Bushman from the tight end from BYU. The kid is athletic. He has good hands. The only problem is, can the quarterback get him the ball? We'll see. All right. But I like Matt Bushman. I think he's a right now, I see him as like a third round pick, maybe early third day at worst. But BYU's tight ends play, man. They play good. They're NFL players. They are. They know how to get open and they know how to catch the ball. That's all you need to do. So that's my number four guy. And my number five guy is another guy from BYU, Brady Christensen, an offensive tackle, a 6'6", over 300 kid, a long offensive lineman with a great work ethic and a lunch pail type of a player, which a lot of BYU guys are, which, again, I like that. So
Definitely. All right, awesome. Great list. All right, let's get into Tom's list. Number one, he has Ian Eichenberg. I think that's offensive tackle from Notre Dame. Number two, he has Jeremiah Aswa. Come on, Ray.
Amusa Koromo. That's a weird name.
Yeah, linebacker from Notre Dame. So I think you had him number two as well, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Number three, he has to have Javon Kingley, wide receiver from Notre Dame. Number four.
And number three?
Yeah.
Wow.
Number four, he has
in, man.
Number four, he has Drew White from Notre Dame. So he has his top four Notre Dame people. To break the mold, number five, he has Jimmy Fultz from cornerback from Liberty. What do you think about that, Ray? He got 4 of your guys, top five. He don't have your guard though. What's his name?
Kramer.
There you go.
Kramer.
He did not have him in his top 10 actually.
Okay. That's good. Yeah. Who was the last guy he had?
Jimmy Fultz.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
All right. Okay. So
Tom is hard to figure out, man. He really is. I'm sorry. One week he goes with guys because he likes their position, and another week he goes with a guy because he likes a different team. I'm having a hard time following him. So,
how do you feel about your wide receiver being as top five?
I have him as one of my top 10 players.
Yeah,
but he caught like 30 balls last year, dude.
Yeah,
that is not projecting. That's hoping and praying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I look at numbers, dude, and I see an athletic kid, and I'm going to go over. He is I think I have him at 10. I mean, but again, I can only rate him on the production that I've seen. Yeah. I can't put everything as. Let me see. He had 11 receptions last year for 270 yards. You have been one of the top 5 players in the conference, or as an independent.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say nothing else, dude. It's okay. I'm not. I have him in my top 10, and I felt funny putting him in my top 10.
Yeah,
but I saw a kid who played behind some good players last year. You know, guys who were drafted, which obviously that's fine. And he's a long, athletic kid, but I can't project. What am I going to? Okay, he caught 11 balls last year. Am I going to project that he catches 40? That's tough, man. And if he doesn't catch 40, he doesn't belong in this list.
I agree.
I mean, I look at a guy who caught 11 balls. So to me, if he catches 30 or 40 balls, okay, and with his length and his athleticism, I think, yeah, he's a top 10 players as an independent guy, but I wouldn't put him ahead at any of the guys that I have him from 6 to 9. Well, I know right now, if again, I don't know what's going to happen this year, but if the draft were being held today, every player I have him on this would be drafted. But that wide receiver from Notre Dame would not be drafted, dude. Not a chance. Not with 11 receptions to his credit.
I agree with
that.
Well, go ahead.
I'll give you okay. I have number 6 is offensive tackle Leonard Coleman from Massachusetts. Again, the one guy on Massachusetts who actually has some NFL upside. He's a 6'7", 300-pound guy he plays right tackle. I don't think he has the feet to play left tackle, but I do think he is a guy who needs to put on 15, 20 pounds of muscle to play at the next level. But he's got the size and he has the length, and he started all last year and the year before. So he's a good player, plays on a bad team, though. You know, it is what it is. So, excuse me. Number 7, I have Kias Tonga, a defensive tackle or interior defensive tackle from BYU. You're going to notice a lot of BYU and a lot of Notre Dame guys on this list. Mm-hmm. They're probably the best. I mean, they recruit the best out of any of these teams. Them 2 guy teams get the most talent out of any of the independents. So, you know, I have a lot of them guys on my team. Tonga is a really good run stopper who has enough wiggle to put pressure on the quarterback. Doesn't need a lot of sacks, but he does play as a shade 3, off the tackle, off the guard. I mean, off the center, off the tackle. Good football player, and I have him at number 7. Number 8, I have another Notre Dame kid. I hate this name too. It's Tukunbu Ojundi. Ojundi is his last name. That's easier to pronounce. Again, is a big athletic edge guy, 6'4", 255. Will be a draftable player. But again, replaces some guys in Notre Dame. I'm kind of projecting here, but he's a long athletic kid with a solid production last year, and actually has done some stuff with off-ball linebacker. So he has some flexibility to him. He can play a couple different positions. I have him in number 8. I have Ian Book at number 9.
I was scared. I got to put him on your list. I was like, oh wait, I don't see Ian Book yet.
No, I have Ian Book on my list. I think that out of these independent, man, the kid had 34 touchdowns last year and 6 interceptions and ran for almost 600 yards. So he's a very good college football player. I don't think he has the arm talent to play at the next level, I should say. But as far as being a college football player, he's a very good player. So he's my number 9 guy. My number 10 guy is the wide receiver from Notre Dame. Again, I'm going on length, athleticism, 6'2", 220, pretty good athlete. But again, I'm projecting because his stats are 11 receptions for 268 yards and no touchdowns. So to have him in the top 5, I don't see that.
It's hard to.
I just because again, we're talking about really 2 or 3 decent teams, including Notre Dame, and then 3 slop.
Yeah.
So I had this guy on because of when he came into Notre Dame, he was a 4-star prospect too. Like you were saying about Stingley, he was a high prospect. He just had to play behind Chase last year and couldn't get on the field that much.
Yeah.
You know, call it what it was. And he's a good player, and he's going to be pretty good for Notre Dame. But I can't, off of what happened last year, I can't say he's one of the top 10 players in out of all these guys or top 5 players.
And that's the thing. That's the thing I was talking about Stingley too, because like I said, his situation is different because he actually have a. I don't think he started at the beginning of the season, but like he was starting for a significant amount of games. So like that's the difference between him and anybody else that just came into the league and still put up good numbers, but you don't really know about him. Like Stingley literally had like
early on when teams were trying to go after him though, because you knew, okay, he's a young guy, and you didn't know, but you saw this kid. He's a player, man. There's no question about that. His ball skills are maybe as good as any corner that I've ever seen in college football. He reminds me of Darren Woodson. He does, man. You don't see him like usually you'll see a cornerback. They'll just turn their head and kind of flail their arms up to try to stop the route pass or maybe deflect it. This kid turns and plays the ball while he's staying with the wide receiver. Yeah. He's that good. He really is, man. I don't question how good he is. I don't question him putting him number one even. I don't want him apples and oranges. We got on this from Javon McKinley because I thought he was a fairly highly rated player. But until he does something, that's the difference. Derek Stingley's had a really good year on a team that won a national title. This kid barely played on Notre Dame, so
Definitely. Well, let's get to Tom's list. Let's finish out his list. He has number 6, Ian Book. So he has him a 6. You have a 9.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you know how he is with quarterbacks too. So we
That's
always
true.
talk about this each week.
That's true.
Number 7, he has Matt Bushman from BYU. We talked about him as a really good tight end prospect. Jafar Armstrong from the running back from Notre Dame. Kind of like him. He's all right.
I like him too, but again, off of last year's 400 yards, I can't,
Yeah. He's solid. I think he's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Number 9, he got Cedric Cunningham, safety from BYU. And number 10, he has Rashi Hodge, linebacker from New Mexico State. Rashi Hodge.
I actually like both of them players. I had them just outside my 10, though.
Mm-hmm.
I like both of them guys. I do. I don't have a problem with him having them up there. I would probably – I may say they're just as good a player as McKinley.
Mm-hmm.
Or they should be as highly rated as McKinley. I just put McKinley in there because he was a higher rated prospect coming into college, I think. So.
Oh, I agree. All right, Ray, let's get into our last segment. And we talked about we dabbed in this a little bit last week, and I promised everybody we was going to talk about it this week. This a long argument between the college community. Who is DBU? And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about with that, what school produces the best DBs going into the pros? I will say, and I hold strong to this. I think it's LSU. I don't care. Like, as you already see how we were talking about Stingley. Last year was Fulton, which he fell a little bit because I think it was more his injury. I mean, not injury. His off the field concerns, and then he just came back for 1 year. Then before that, there was Tyrann Matthews. Then we have Patrick Peterson. Then we have like all these DBs. I think LSU is DBU. A lot of people will argue it's Alabama. A lot of people will argue it's Florida State. Some people will argue it's Ohio State. I think Ohio State just been more recent. I think Ohio State.
I think to me that's true of all those teams that you just mentioned. When I was a kid, Alabama, Michigan, and USC had the best defensive backs in college football when I was younger. Now it's LSU, Alabama, and Michigan every once in a while will throw a good guy out there. Penn State every once in a while will throw. Notre Dame every once in a while will throw a good guy. But LSU, especially the last 10 years, has become that team, I think.
Definitely. And as you see, my man Mike agrees with me. It is LSU for sure. Thank you, Mike, for agreeing with me. I think LSU, I'm telling you, LSU have the best DBs coming out of that school, especially when you can bring in a freshman cornerback and have him playing the way he playing. They always produce the best DBs. I don't care what anybody say. All you Ohio State fans, get out of my DMs. All you Alabama fans, get out of my DMs. It is LSU, and I'm not even an LSU fan. I'm a Michigan fan. If you guys don't already know, like I have Michigan on my hat. Who's that? Remy says Ohio State ain't no good DBs. Don't need to start naming them. Do I need to start naming them? I'm not saying. Listen, I didn't say they don't have good. They have great DBs, especially recently. You know, we got Jeff Okudah that just got drafted. They got my guy in from the Saints, blanking on his name. But the cornerback from the Saints, they got a lot of different people that coming out of Ohio State. I'm saying that's a little bit more recent. That's a little bit more recent. I'm talking about like if you look at the history of like LSU's DBs, I think they have the best ones. Mike says, bro, LSU put out absolute savages. I totally agree with that. Their DBs are more of the ball hawking, snatching out the air, you know, usually really good at man coverage kind of corners. And that's the type of corners I like. So
they put playmakers in their secondary.
They really do.
Like when Florida State used to have a decent amount of D-backs back in the day. Definitely. Again, I think it goes through cycles, but I think in the last 10 years, LSU has been that team. Like when I was a kid, it was Alabama, it was Michigan, it was USC, and then as I got older, then it was Florida State, you know, Miami, Notre Dame again. I mean, it goes in cycles. Right now, it is LSU. Ohio State is it's like every other position. Ohio State produces good players at every position.
And this actually be my next point. Remy just put a whole bunch of players on the screen. We're not talking about. He had to throw out the Michigan card on me. Look at this. Michigan ain't putting nothing out anymore. I never say anything about Michigan. I'm talking about
Ohio State did. What quarterback that ever went to Ohio State that's as good as Charles Woodson? I'm listening. Go ahead. No. Go ahead, anybody. Go ahead. Listen. No. Charles Woodson. Go ahead. Who's better than Charles Woodson? Go ahead.
Nobody.
Ohio State. I'm listening. Go ahead. Okay. All right. Well, again, can we just agree that it goes in cycles and leave the East the Big East bias in the Big East, please, or the Big Ten, whatever you want to call them?
Big Ten.
I just don't get it, man.
Listen, real quick though. Listen, real quick. This is what I will say about both Ohio State and Alabama. They are always the top class. They are the top schools when it comes to class recruiting. It's always Ohio State. It's always Alabama. Like Michigan, LSU, their recruiting class hasn't been that great the last couple of years because their team hasn't been that great. But they always consistently still have great DBs all the time.
They do.
Every time.
They do.
Every time. So that's why
they don't get great linemen usually, but they get great defensive backs and good linebackers usually.
Yeah, exactly.
And they'll throw in and again, man. I have Sean Wade as my third best corner in this year's draft, or this year coming in from Ohio State. And the kid is an excellent football player. Could I see him being drafted? I could see him maybe getting drafted before Patrick Surtain, maybe. And I could see him being on the same level because to me, they're the best three in college football. Now, Stingley won't come out this year because he can't. So I think Surtain and Wade will probably be 1-2. Now, I'm not exactly what order they'll go into neither, but we'll see.
Remy's talking about you already.
That's fine. Everybody can talk about me. That's fine. As long as you say something.
He says race too easy. He's trying to troll you a little bit, right? But listen, all I'm saying is LSU got the best DBs just because of the classes too. If you always producing, if you're always having a strong draft, recruiting class, of course you're gonna produce players, but it's always gonna be widespread. It's not like in a particular group. It's always gonna be widespread. So Ohio State always have really good, recruiting class. Alabama always have really good recruiting classes. It's what I'm talking about is like when I say again, LSU just consistently stay really good at that one position. Like Ray said, cornerbacks and linebackers, they always producing really good players at those positions.
Now you have me defending players I don't even care about.
Ray's talking about Michigan players now, man.
Yeah, I mean, bringing up Michigan guys that I don't like about a position that I think is like the fifth most important on the team. So whatever.
Remy's talking trash right now. He says it's really hard for Ray to pretend he doesn't like Ohio State. Probably because they smack Notre Dame around each time they play.
When's the last time they played Ohio State? If he had any clue, he would not use that as an example. Mm-hmm. But I don't have a problem with Ohio State. I hated Urban Meyer. He was a fraud and a loser. Okay. I never jaded it any other way. Honestly, Ohio State's not even on my blip, dude. I hate Michigan. I hate Alabama. I hate USC. I hate the important teams, not Ohio State. Please. Come on. Ohio State. Please. Can they spell Ohio State? Please.
Oh, man, Remy. You got my man fired up.
Please. I'm not a Penn State fan. I don't have to bow to them guys, please. Does any of them ever graduate? Please. Chris Carter even graduated. They sent his graduate's diploma like 30 years later. They get tired of listening to his mouth. Please.
Nah.
That's why he was doing cocaine in the locker room. Now that doesn't happen to Ohio State either, does it? Give me a break, man.
All right. Well, that would end our podcast today, guys. It was a great topic and a great debate. Remy, as always, we love but it's always love, man.
You know what I want to do, Jerome? I'm going to have a little segment. I wish we could get Tom on, and I'm going to give you guys some real stats, not just my biased opinion. Real stats on why it's all just a delusion. Okay. Real stats. Numbers don't lie. People's biased opinions do, but numbers don't.
Well, we're gonna.
There you go. I have the numbers right here. If you guys ever want them, they're right here written down for you.
Ray, we're gonna have you and Remy get in a cage match. We're gonna record it one day.
I want all the Michigan guys on board. I want all the Ohio State guys on board. I want all the Penn State guys on board. Anybody who's in the Big East. Who, you know what? I just grew up respecting the Big East so much because my dad loves Penn State. And then I'm not going to lie, the Joe Paterno lying for the 120 years kind of jaded me against them. I'm not going to lie about it. And the bias and the narcissist crap that I hear from the fans around here makes me want to move south. Okay?
He said he want to move south.
Please, man.
First of all,
here's my last thing I'm going to say. What is the difference between SEC bias and Big Ten bias? The answer is nothing. It's just bias. Okay. Thanks.
Listen, we're gonna get into that next week because we're gonna be talking about the SEC next week. Also, that's gonna be great. So make sure you check it out.
Of course, we'll be reading our top 10 guys from the SEC, and then everybody will be pointing out how many guys that went to Penn State and Ohio State, and how many guys are better than the guys we're pointing out.
So. Yeah, we're gonna be talking.
I just thought didn't Surtain? They both play in the SEC, right? And Stingley, right? They both play in the SEC. Yeah. Right? Is anybody's down? Oh, that's right. Some people do doubt it. Not anybody with a brain, though. It's okay.
Well, next week we're gonna finish out our segments with the top 10 teams, top 10 top conference players. Conferences in the teams in the conferences, and we're gonna finish out the top 10 players. So make sure you check us out next week. We're gonna be talking about safeties in SEC country. So if you are SEC country, please come in, check us out. We'll let you know what we think about it. We do love having these interactions. You got raised blood pressure kind of high right now, so we're gonna
again. It's just a little annoying because I hate Michigan and I hate Alabama, but I got to defend them on a weekly basis because of idiots. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, thank you guys so much for checking us out. Please make sure you check out InsideTheHatchers.com. I'm gonna have to get an ice bucket for Ray. Thank you
I'm pretty hot right now.
Yeah, it is pretty hot today. So thank you guys for checking us out. InsideTheHatchers.com, where you can find all our content, a lot of our player interviews, podcasts, gaming, blogs. Make sure you check it out, InsideTheHatchers.com. Also, like I said earlier, we have a new podcast called the Fantasy Aces. We talk about all fantasy football on there. So please make sure you check that out. That comes out every Tuesday at 7 o'clock. The guys had their first episode yesterday. It was a great episode. So please make sure you check it out. If you haven't seen it, it is on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So please make sure you go back and check that out. Check the guys out and show them some love. And, we'll be on every week with that. Also, make sure you check out our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts for all the players that we interview. A lot of these players that we talk about each day, we have a lot of those guys that we interview. So please make sure you check that out. We got a good interview crew that interviews a lot of these players, and they do a really good job. And there's a lot of good, really, really well-spoken athletes that, have really good stories. So make sure you check that out at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts, and it supports the podcast. Like, make sure you check that out because you don't have to subscribe to nothing. You have to buy anything. You just literally have to just go in and listen, and you'll be. You said it's ready. Oh, okay, I'm concerned he's sweating a lot. I'm sorry, I had to read that one. So please make sure you check all that out.
Not as much as you guys High State fans will be when all this truth comes out about Urban Meyer and how much he cheated. Ooh. Yeah. Well, don't worry, let's take a couple titles from you. Don't worry about that.
Thank you guys for checking out the RPO podcast. It was a great episode, guys. Make sure you check us out again next week at 7 o'clock on Wednesday nights. RPO College Football Podcast. Thank you guys for joining. We'll see you next week. Peace.